Sorry.
We're going streaking, folks. The Sharks win their second straight in reverse retros. What? They win in specialty jerseys now? We'll talk about this win. We'll talk about the Desert Dogs. We'll talk about Randy Hahn, and we'll get into some of the stuff going on at the governor's meetings right now. This is Teal Town After Dark. Okay, computer, you can play the intro now. Maybe, maybe not. Good evening, everyone. It is Tuesday night, December 13th, 2022. The Sharks are victorious 3-2 over the Desert Dogs. That's right. Start chugging, people, if you haven't already. Welcome to Teal Town After Dark. This is your live interactive Sharks postgame. If you want to be part of the show, join us in the YouTube chat on the page or the app and chat with us and fellow Sharks fans all over Sharks territory and around the world. Of course, we like to invite you to follow us on the social, YouTube, to hit that subscribe button, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, SoundCloud, Reddit, Discord, TikTok, and find everything at tealtownusa.com. Of course, if you want to support the pod, you can do that through Venmo at tealtownusa or hit us up on the YouTube Super Chat. And with that, good evening, Ian Reid. What's happening, bud?
Nothing.
Okay, cool. Good night, everyone.
Nothing happened tonight. I mean, I don't know. Was tonight a big deal?
I would say a little bit, especially in the broadcast booth. I mean, for the game-wise, I mean, you saw 10,400 people allegedly watch this game inside the Shark Tank. Even Curtis Pachelka got in on the comments and such because it looked pretty empty there.
It was pretty barren. Like, the Coyotes brought the desert with them, and the desert was the seating and SAP center.
That was scary, and be quite honest, it's tough to see.
I've
never seen the tank this empty.
I mean, it is what it is. Like, and I know some people be like, "Oh no, now they got to do something. Like they've got to do something." But I think like my take has always been on, you know, if you make the right hockey decisions, the business decisions will basically work themselves out. And I think like, yeah, if I'm Hasso Plattner, am I looking at this and going, oh my God, we have to do something? He probably does. But at the same time, I don't think like a knee-jerk decision would help anybody right now. Like this has just kind of got to ride itself out.
Right. It's one of those things where you kind of have to eat it. And And
yeah, I mean, you can say that you're trying to be competitive and make the playoffs, but when you look at the roster, when you look at how this team's constructed, and you look at the additions over the offseason, like obviously anyone with half a brain knew that wasn't even remotely in the cards. So, like, you know, so yeah, there's gonna be some thinness at SAP Center while this sorts itself out. But I think if they stay on the plan they're on, and if it actually works out, obviously, then, you know, the people will come back if this team gets good again. But
right.
they're gonna have to, they're gonna have to like believe that, you know, you have to kind of re-earn the fans' trust as far as like believing that this team can contend again. And there's obviously a ways to go.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it started off really, really well. You know, you had 2 goals in the minute 2, I think, with Hurdle making it 1-0. You know, having the check connection from Shimmick there.
Yeah, it was nice too.
And then you also had Benino. You know, he's on a burner now. 4 goals in his last 4 games to make it 2-0 from Karlsson and Gadjevich. You know, getting contributions everywhere. I mean, yeah, you get your big name with Hurdle getting the double digits now. Karlsson gets an assist on the night. Benino's now starting to come on. I want to say Benino's been getting the scoring touch ever since Nieto went down.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you got to give credit where credit's due. Benino's, I think he's on a 4-game goal streak now, which I mean, good for him. I think when the Sharks signed a guy like Benino, this is probably what they were hoping for. Now, obviously, look, if Benino was never going to be a goal a game guy, I mean, no one in the NHL is, but I think they were hoping that he would pitch in on offense with little spurts like this.
Yep.
And unfortunately for Benino, I think that the spurts have been kind of few and far between, but you got to give him credit now. And I think also on the first goal, I don't think we've talked enough about how good Shimmick has been this year. Because Shimmick's a guy who in the summer, was like, I didn't even factor him in to the lineup. And he's been good. Like, he is what he is. And he's probably still slightly overpaid for what he brings, but I think he's had a really good rebound season.
He's definitely evolved his game. It's not just playing just sound defense. I mean, he gets an assist tonight, and offensively, he's not always been that offensive minded. I mean, you're not going to see him like Erik Karlsson or
no. But that's not his game. But
he's played
even
all around
in his own end. I think he's been decent. Like, I don't like, again, like, no one's like, no, I'm not, no, by saying he's been better this season. I mean, I don't think anyone's going to conflate that and be like, oh, so Ian thinks Radim Šimić is suddenly Bobby Orr. No, of course I don't think that. I just think compared to last season and probably half the season before that, there was a lot of like, ooh, what did we sign here? Because I think the Sharks have a bad habit of paying guys who, would slot in with Brent Burns. And then if that pair worked out, then that guy got paid for it. And, and we've had some up and downs as far as that kind of is gone, which is why I always like shudder when everyone's like, oh God, we have the Karlsson whisperer now and Jacob Megna. Like, no, do not pay Jacob Megna to be the Karlsson whisperer. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I hate that, because of Radim Šimić is like one of the reasons why I kind of hate that narrative. But he wasn't the first guy who kind of got paid for having a good season beside Brent Burns. We saw, who was before? Paul Martin before that, who obviously had other issues going on in his life. So it wasn't like Paul Martin, like, granted other issues there, and Paul Martin was a good defenseman, I think, and he was good in that role. Joachim Ryan for a year was kind of okay in that role, right? So it's just like, I always get my backup whenever it's like the narrative becomes, oh, the Karlsson whisper, because Burns is gone now, obviously. But no, I think Šimić has found his game again a little bit, and I think, again, do I think he's still slightly overpaid? Yeah, but I still think he's had a bounce back season that probably doesn't get enough stick taps.
Yeah, I think, like I said, I think his game has evolved. It's got multifacets to it. So it's nice to see, and the Sharks needed that. And considering, how he kind of came out in the European newspapers about, I'm grumbling about the Sharks, blah, 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 blah. It's nice to see that he's put that aside. He's had a solid season, and, if you're on Team Tank, maybe he's a little bit of a trade bait down the road. We'll see.
Yep.
Then in the second half of the first period, it was a parade to the penalty box. I mean, the Sharks would, take, a penalty, LeBanc, which was, the ultimate stick lift.
LeBanc penalty, like that LeBanc penalty. I mean, okay, and I tweeted this out too. By the letter of the law, that's a penalty. That's interference. But I have never, like, it didn't look like that big of a thing. So to have your stick fly that far out of your hand, like, I don't know. I understand. Like, do I agree? Yes, it was an interference penalty. Yeah, by the letter of the law for sure. But I mean, I don't think that flick should have launched his stick into upper Earth orbit the way it did.
Yes.
Like, it's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, no. Thankfully, the Sharks PK did its job there. Unfortunately, they would have to deal with a 5-on-3 as Lindblom took hooking call. Benino gets a tripping call, and Lawson Krause, makes it a 2-1 game. It just seems like this guy is, I mean, Phil Kessel was there for a couple of years, It just absolutely destroyed the Sharks. Now and then Kraus, I think, has done fairly well over the last few seasons for Arizona against the Sharks.
Lawson Krause has had such a fascinating career because I think he was like he went from being, in my opinion, like he went from underrated to like incredibly overrated on the back of his last World Junior appearance, where I think he was like after the World Juniors, he was in that draft year, which was a big draft year. That's the McDavid draft, if I remember correctly.
2015.
I think they had him after the World Juniors as high as like 5 or 6, which I thought was way too high for him. And then, he ends up getting drafted, I think 11th overall by the Panthers, I want to say. I think it was 11th by Panthers. Anyway, and somewhere in the either like or the early teens. And then, kind of had a little bit of trouble trying to figure out his game. I didn't think his offensive numbers were ever going to translate. But if you look at his stats, I mean, he's cut himself out a nice little NHL career out of, I think, is he a guy who I think would get drafted that high if you redid that draft? No, I don't think so. He's probably a late first, early second, but I thought, I give him a lot of credit though, because I think it's really hard sometimes to find that niche when you're kind of drafted with like super lofty expectations, where I think a lot of people had for him in his draft year. Like his draft stock kind of cooled as we've seen as he got drafted a little bit later, but yeah, like he's a guy that I think has, I think he's cut himself out a nice little NHL career. He's figured out his role, and I think he's a good little player. I like Lawson Krause.
Yeah, I do too. I think I don't want to compare him to Owen Nolan, but having that kind of that power forward, old school feel to it, where you lay out the body, but you're also going to have a scoring touch to it.
Yeah, he's got a little bit of scoring touch. Like he's not. Yeah, I wouldn't confuse him for he's no offensive dynamo, but he's definitely a guy who can play rough and can also chip in on the score sheet for sure. Yeah. And I think if he was on, it's one of those guys where I think he probably gets more press if he doesn't play for the Coyotes.
Yeah, I think he's a little bit on the radar, so his role doesn't get magnified as much. But needless to say, like you said, he's found a niche in his career.
Yeah,
with the Coyotes, and he made it 2-1 after one, and then in the middle frame he got Sturm, just being in the right spot at the right time to eventually get the eventual game winner. There, I think that the second period, I thought the Sharks. I think it was like 27-13 after 2 periods, or 28-13, and they were playing pretty well. But credit to Vejmelka for keeping them in this game.
I like Karel Vejmelka a lot. As far as like goalies go, he is a guy who I've always had a fondness for. And he's a guy who I think I feel bad for, because I think if he's on a better team, I think his numbers would be just absolutely gaudy if he was on a good team. But unfortunately, he's on the Coyotes, and that's a tough road. That's a tough road to drive down for a goalie, unfortunately. But yeah, I really like Karel Vejmelka. I'm glad that he is stuck on, because he plays his little ass off, and again, I think his numbers on the Coyotes, his save percentage is pretty damn good.
Yeah. I want to say it's 909.
Something like that. And I mean, considering the shots he takes, and when you look at that save, they brought this up on the broadcast tonight, because I actually got to watch the Sharks broadcast. Thank you, Sportsnet gods. And they brought it up on the broadcast tonight about how his goals against average is pretty high, but when you have that high of a goals against average and your save percentage is that good, that's the sign of a decent goalie. And like you said, you just hope that He just doesn't get used to getting shelled like the way he does, and hopefully they can build something in front of him in Arizona and kind of give him some much needed help, and like watch those numbers just be absolutely dumb.
Yeah, no, I mean, he's done a great job for it. I mean, I think it was like 909 save percentage, but his goals against was like over 3, which tells you how many shots he's
right. Yeah, he gets shelled on a nightly basis, and you know what Karel Vejmelka kind of reminds me of another guy. Like, remember how Thomas Vokoun used to just get shelled and shelled and shelled, and by the time they got him finally on a good team, he was just like, he was kind of washed at that point. It was so unfortunate.
Yeah,
because like Thomas Vokoun was a guy that just like always had like a gaudy save percentage but a crappy GAA. And I just like, I worry about like goalies like that are in bad situations. Another guy like John Gibson in Arizona, right, who at one time I considered to be a very elite goaltender, and I'm just not sure that the eliteness is there anymore. And maybe a change of scenery would do him some good, but I just wonder if they've just run him over with shots for too long, that even if he gets to a good team, like it's a lot. Like, to take the number of shots that these guys take on a nightly basis, I can't. It has to have long-term effects on your play.
Right, and just wearing you down over the test of time. I mean, and of course, there's some goaltenders that like, let me see all the shots. Then there's other goaltenders like, get in the freaking way as much as possible, and it's just craziness how it just can change. I mean, he took 33 shots tonight, stopping 30 in there. I mean, so a little.
It's a good night of work.
Yes. Let's say hello to and I hope I'm saying this, Karel Vejmelka. Hello guys, thanks for the great channel. First time I'm watching live since I live in Sweden. Hey Karel, thanks for joining us. We appreciate
Thanks
you.
for joining.
If you haven't already, of course, hit that subscribe button, and that goes for everybody. If you are just joining us for the first time, smash that subscribe button down below. We really appreciate it. On that one. Third period, I Bukestad gets that goal to cut it within 1, and I thought, okay, the Sharks looked like they were getting it early on, and then Arizona started, I want to say, really dictated play, because I thought most of the play was in the Sharks' defensive zone the rest of the way.
Yeah, I mean, look, obviously, I didn't really, and we've talked about Karel Vejmelka. We should talk about James Reimer too, because I think James Reimer was pretty good tonight. Like, he obviously didn't face a ton of shots, but I didn't really have any issue with the 2 goals he let in. Like, the wraparound is a tricky situation, because obviously it's an odd man situation for the Sharks, being down by, I think, 2 men at that point. And even the second one that he let in, like, I thought he had the rebound. You probably would want to see Karlsson maybe see that play through a little bit before skidding the other way. Maybe thought Reimer was gonna have it, like, was gonna be able to handle that rebound. But then, like, so quick for Bukestad to just find that puck and put it in, just bang bang. Really nice goal for him. Again, I don't think, like, maybe I just want to see Karlsson maybe finish that play.
Yeah. But overall, a solid night for James Reimer.
Yeah,
20 saves,
but I
20
thought
shots.
for having a bunch of time off like he did and coming back, and I thought he played a really good game. It was nice to see James Reimer look like James Reimer again, and hopefully he can stay healthy and up that trade value and give the Sharks some good goaltending, because I like both.
Yes, indeed. But all in all, a nice night. It wasn't pretty, but the Sharks get it done. 3-2, 2 wins in a row. 2 wins in the reverse retros, which hasn't happened before. They get their first home win wearing their.
I mean, just to win at home in this play at this rate is a victory for them. Like, I feel bad, right? Because again, like, if you're trying to sell tickets and you want people to show up, like, the Sharks have not been good at home. Like, you have a better chance of seeing, like, you've had a better chance of seeing them win on your television than at SAP Center. So I can understand people being like, "Man, I'll just catch this on TV." Um, but no, I think a big win. It's good to see how few fans were there. But I mean, it's nice to see the hardcore, because that's who's in the seats now. Is your hardcore of
Right.
hardcores. They're morons like us that are just gonna watch every game regardless of how you know ass they are. So I'm happy to see those people, as few as they were tonight, rewarded for for being the hardcores.
Yeah. It's painful to see and everything, but nice win on home ice. I mean, it's what is it, the third home win this season? Which
Something like that. It's
it's
bad.
just
It's
crazy how it's
bad.
gone. It's gone from being one of the most intimidating places to play, one of the most loudest rinks in the NHL, and to get that is just it's tough to see. But then again, everybody was, watching the game tonight, and obviously because of Randy Hahn gets to broadcast game number 2000. Um, Now, Ian, of course, I know you get occasional random feeds. Sometimes you get the
I
away
I
feed. You
get
get
everything but the Sharks feed usually, and I think and I do wonder if they like if the Sportsnet gods were like, well, it's Randy's 2000th game. I guess we can show that one instead of the Coyotes feed, because I'm surprised, because generally speaking this year, um, I have, because usually I've flown the pirate flag, but this year pirate flag, the site that we would use like wasn't looking good, right? And
no.
because like I don't this isn't my job, right? But I didn't want to put myself in a situation where I couldn't be effective. Like if I'm going to be called on to come on here, I want to be able to see the game. I want to watch it, you know, as good as quality as possible with as few pop-ups in front of it as possible.
Yeah.
So I went the legit route this year. And yeah, I have a little bit of regret about it, because I thought, well, NHL TV before Sportsnet just rolled it into their gargantuan Giga Chat service that they have now, like you could pick the feed. You can't do that anymore. They treat it like it's like watching center ice on your television, where you just get the feed
Wow.
you get, and that's it, right? Like you get whatever feed they show you, and that's that. It feels like I've gone back to like the early 2000s, like watching on center ice on my television,
That's
and
crazy.
hoping to God you get a game in high def.
Right. And I know the Sharks. It took them a bit to get into high def. I mean, it was like 10 games 1 year, and then eventually they worked it out there. But you know, that's a bummer that you're not getting the Sharks feed. And I know that's been
I just wish I had the choice. Like
yeah.
I don't even like, and it's fine, because I think the one thing that I can say is one I appreciate Randy. Like I think the Sharks broadcast in general has lost quality in my opinion. However, you don't realize like how good you have it with a guy like Randy Hahn
Yeah.
until you're like stuck listening to fucking Brian Hayward.
Why did I think you're going to Anaheim on that?
Because Anaheim has the absolute worst fucking they have one of the worst broadcasts in the league, in my humble opinion. Ducks fans, come at me, bro.
It, there's that. I'll raise you a Jack Edwards. I mean, sure, and for good reason that Randy Hahn can. He's not even really a homer because he'll tell it like it is on occasion. I mean, he won't like super sugarcoat anything. But to have somebody that's obnoxious like Jack Edwards on broadcast, I don't know how you can live with it. Randy has always been the consummate professional. He's, I mean, there have been so many things I've been, been fortunate to have, with this show. We, to interview him, we have our annual interview when we were doing tweet ups. He was like, hey, let me know what time I can be there, and I'll be there. He's always been opened up to us. So
I don't know. I think Jack Edwards is a blatant homer, but he's entertaining. Like I find him entertaining. Like yes, is he an unashamed like absolute homer? Absolutely, but I still think he's a bajillion times more entertaining than fucking Brian Hayward.
Oh, that's for sure. That's for sure. And not to go down a rabbit hole with announcers, but uh, Randy's up there with one of those guys that are just like with the national team.
Oh yeah, like no, Randy to me is the GOAT. Like I put Randy up there with like prime Bob Cole, Chris Cuthbert. Like he is in that for me, he is in that upper echelon of hockey commentators. Like I think he is fantastic. And it's nice when I get the Sharks feed because then I can actually appreciate him more. I just mute everything else.
Yeah, he even worked with Jim Houston. I believe it was at CKNW in Vancouver for the longest time, and then it was getting an idea to hey, maybe they're building a new arena in San Jose. Maybe we can get a hockey team over here, and that's the other touch to it. It's just not just a random guy, and nothing against any random guys like Dave Gaucher goes to Vegas or anything like that. But Randy had made contributions to get this team to be in the Bay Area, in San Jose. So that other touch to it is great. So bunch of love. Congratulations, Randy. I know you watch here and there, so thank you so much for everything you do.
Yeah,
on there.
No, I mean, big congrats to him. I mean, 2,000 games is nothing to sneeze at for sure.
Absolutely. With that, let's get to the quotes in the locker room from Nick Bonino. One pass can beat your triangle. I wasn't thrilled with the penalty call, but we didn't give them much. Okay. David Quinn. We had good changes, managed the game. The second goal off the faceoff, we have to have that. We lose this game if it's a month ago.
Probably.
Yeah.
I mean, James Reimer, I thought, stood tall to finish the game out, and I think the Sharks did play decently to try and defend. I don't know. I know a lot of people, like I was watching my feed and everyone's like, oh man, they're going to tie it. And I was like, I didn't feel it. I didn't feel like that at all. But maybe I'm just so numb to it now that I'm just like, well, maybe it'll happen. But I don't know.
I'll be honest. When they made it 3-2, I was like, oh crap, here we go. But Reimer was in net, so I kind of felt reassured by it. Bonino, it eats at me after 3 games if I don't score. It's tough to pinpoint why. I need to skate more and be more of a threat.
Yeah, I definitely agree on the skating. That's some good self-reflection, Nick Bonino.
From Harrington, good effort by us. We played 50 solid minutes. I don't know about my offense, but I'll take it. Shimmick is easy to play with and communicates well.
Yeah, and again, like I said, I don't think I said earlier in the show, like I don't think Shimmick gets enough stick taps for how good he's been this year.
From James Reimer, anytime you have a lead, it's great. I thought we played great the entire game. They had a push, and I thought we defended well. When the time came, we did a great job.
Yeah, I wasn't worried about this. I was not worried about the Coyotes tying this game up. Like I said, I didn't like it. I think if it did happen, it would probably have been, I don't know. I was pretty confident that the Sharks were going to hold on. I don't know why. Just feeling I had.
Ian Reid with good feelings. And we can't even complain about Matt Benning tonight. So all kinds of good feelings going on.
Hey, look it. According to the Athletics player cards, Matt Benning is an amazing $6 million defenseman. So what the fuck do I know?
6 million.
Did you see that?
6 million?
Are you familiar with this? These player cards?
Refresh me on this.
Okay, so they Dom Lucian and I can't remember the other person's name. They put out player cards for every team. And a lot of it pretty much kind of told us what we already knew. as far as like players go, right?
Right.
And they kind of just like had like who was like they kind of gave like an estimate of what their contract value should be and if they're playing over and above it. And apparently Matt Benning is the real outlier of this whole thing. If I'm remembering it correctly, like it's something like $6 million for Matt Benning, and I am like, what? Like I want whoever was smoking when the Matt Benning player card was made, because they are clearly not sharing. I don't know what it is. Like, and so Matt Benning is actually good was not something I wanted to come away from there. Mario Ferraro not being good was expected. Matt Benning being significantly better, I don't know, man. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No.
I don't like it. Well, sir, I don't like it. I don't understand it. Look at and here's the thing, right? And the thing that drives me kind of a little bit batty about these player cards is they're just kind of presented as is, and there's no real commentary or anything. I would love to hear like from Dom Lucian like his take on why like Matt Benning's scorecard came out the way it did. Because like they're just kind of presented with no context or anything else, and you kind of just do whatever with them, and then I think people will look at those and then kind of like cherry pick the numbers they like and then say, look at this. This player is amazing. But like, I'm sorry, if you come at me with go look at Matt Benning's player card, Matt Benning is actually good, I'm just going to laugh you the fuck off this channel. Sorry. I'm like, if you have eyes, which I like to think I do, I have 4 of them actually. Like, yeah, I don't get me wrong. I think Matt Benning's an okay skater, and I think he has a really good pass. I think he's a good passer, but like he makes the most fucking boneheaded, jarring decisions.
That I just Ottawa.
Right, and I just like and those are not isolated situations, right? So I don't like again, like I think analytics are fine, and I like analytics. I don't talk analytics on this channel because I don't know. I have never figured out a way to talk analytics and make it sound other than like an old teacher trying to teach like physics or math and put everyone in the fucking chat to sleep. Like if I had a way that I could present them in a way that I think would be interesting and engaging, I would wish I could do it, but I can't. I would sound like, like Ben Stein teaching a math class.
Bueller.
Yeah, and no one wants that, right?
No.
But I think like I think that with analytics, and this is the problem, right? Is it's like you have to watch the game still, and I think the numbers will generally correlate with what you're seeing. Mm-hmm. But like in situations like this, like you can be like, no, these numbers don't make fucking sense.
Ian rant number 1 is now complete. Thank you for attending his Teal Town talk. Moving onward. Overall, I thought it was a gutsy performance, especially losing Cunnin early, playing 11 forwards. I felt so good about our game after 2 periods from David Quinn. And that's another thing. Haven't heard anything about Cunnin. Don't know why Barabanov didn't play either. And fortunately,
he was questionable, I thought. Yeah. I feel like I know the answer to this, but I don't. I could make something up.
No. Finishing up with we got that second goal.
He look at Barabanov knew that Alex Ovechkin was going to score a hat trick tonight, and he didn't want to be on the ice. He wanted to make sure that like he was able to watch the game. So he stubbed his toe, said, look, can't go, stub toe, clearly. And then he watched Ovechkin. That's what happened.
Well, let's...
Teal Town exclusive.
And the poor thing had to listen to the ESPN broadcast where they had Chelios as the color commentator and just ate all over Steve Levy's call of Ovechkin's 800th goal.
Well, ESPN sucks. Also a Teal Town exclusive. No, that's not a
no, that's not a Teal Town exclusive.
Everyone who has ears knows that ESPN sucks. And eyeballs as well.
But what an accomplishment.
I'm making all the friends tonight, aren't I?
You are batting 1,000. He's at Ian Block's Hockey, by the way, everyone. Yeah, Alexander Ovechkin, Sharks fan Alexander Ovechkin. Let's not forget that. Gets a hat trick tonight. I know we don't usually do the wraparound. Jerry, where's the Venmo donation?
It's fine. It's 800 fucking goals in the NHL. Like it is a number that I didn't think that we would ever see again.
No. I think we knew that Ovi was going to be able to get to 700, but 800 I think was.
I mean, he's not done.
No, he could.
He is going to annihilate Gretzky's goal record.
Yeah,
annihilate. Like, I think Ovechkin could score 1,000 before he's done, and I think that might be even too conservative.
That's crazy to think. Because I mean, he probably gets it done. I mean, unless he goes on an absolute tear for the rest of the year, he gets it done in 2024, 25. And
if he can score, like if you look at if he can score, if he can keep up where he's scoring 40 to 50 goals over the next few years, like he could easily hit 1,000. Now, age is obviously going to play a factor here at some point, but I mean, dude can score. Like he's going to go down as the greatest scorer of not only his generation but in history of the league. I think. Like we'll see what McDavid does. Like I'm sure McDavid might give him a run for his money when he gets up into that, when he's that deep into his career. But I don't know, man. Yeah. Ovechkin's Ovechkin's politics aside, he's a hell of a fucking player.
Yeah. No, for what he does on the ice, he's a hell of a player. And 94 to Gretzky, one away from tying Gordie Howe.
Yep.
Funny enough, when he hits that, he'll match Gordie. When Gretzky matched Gordie, he did it at the Shark Tank in March of '94.
It's true.
Yeah. And a crazy, I think it was like a 6-6 tie, if I'm not mistaken there. But yeah, I mean, yeah, stick taps to Ovechkin, 800
Yeah,
goals.
I mean, I don't think anyone's gonna touch Gretzky's point total record, but as far as goal scorers go, like there's never been anyone better than Ovechkin at it. Period.
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely unreal. Absolutely unreal. So congrats to him. The one Gretzky record, as a sidebar, just that I always get a kick out of is the amount of assists more than anybody else has points. I mean, that's just absolutely awesome to see.
Well, I mean, again, but like when you played in the 80s when goalies were basically defensemen with pads.
It's true.
Yeah.
Oh man. Oh, the 80s. So the Sharks get a victory here, as NHL.com has decided to just take a poop on me. Thanks very much. Sorry to do this on my phone here. So they win. They're at 25 points. So they open up, a little bit more on the bottom teams with Arizona at 22, Chicago at 18, Anaheim at 17. But they're nowhere near like the 7 points out of a playoff spot now. So they're really starting to get away from it all.
But they're at a 400 points percentage, and they need to knock that off a little bit.
Yeah, 403 is where they're at. It's the third worst points percentage in the Western Conference. In the league wise, they are now fifth. With so 32 is Anaheim, 31 Chicago, Columbus at 393 is 30th. The Desert Dogs at 407, the Sharks at 403. So, so that's where we're at with that. But we look at the standings, and we heard some things going on at the Board of Governors meeting this week. There was, Gary Bettman's like, oh, we may only go $1 million for a cap increase next year. But coming off of what he said, oh, it could go up dramatically next year, which we heard a few months ago. So I don't know what changed there, but of course,
recession's hurting everyone, I guess.
Yeah, it's true. Nobody wants to buy a $150 fake Fanatics jersey. But playoff format comes back into things, and everybody was talking about maybe do you do a play-in format? Do you expand the playoffs? Do you go back to 1 versus 8? Do you?
Whoa, wait a second here. Go back to 1 versus 8? Go back to what? This 1 versus 8? 1 versus 8 was never a thing. It was never a thing because here's what happened. You had 3 divisions in each conference, and the top team in each division filled those top 3 seats. So it wasn't a true 1 versus 8 because if you remember the Southeast Division, which was I want to say Carolina, which was ass, Florida, which was ass, the Capitals, which were ass, the Lightning, which I want to say were ass in this stretch too. They were all ass. And whoever won that division would be seated 3rd in the standings. But if the person who won that division wasn't guaranteed a playoff spot, none of those teams missed the play. Like none of those teams made the playoffs. So 1 through 8 is a fallacy that people cling to when it was never a thing. It was never a thing. It was, yes, okay, seeds 4 through 8 were seeded regardless of division based on point totals, but those top 3 teams were always guaranteed those top 3 seeds regardless. There could be teams that had more points than another division leader, but they would finish 4th because they didn't finish in the top of the division. So let's stop with this 1 versus 8 shit. It was never a thing. Now, would a straight 1 versus 8 system be a lot of fun? Yeah, I think it would be a lot of fun. But let's stop talking about this nostalgia for something that just never fucking was.
Okay, so a couple of things here. If you win your division, you automatically just get a playoff spot in your mind?
That's the way it was. No, that's how it was. That was how the 1 versus 8 system is. The 1 versus 8 system is as real as the original 6.
Oh God. Whew. Whew.
So again, in the 1 versus 8 system, air quotes, your leader, your division winner was seeded 1 to 3 based on their point totals, and then everyone else was slotted in behind them. It was never a true 1 versus 8.
But what I'm saying is in your format, to make it 1 versus 8, that division winner just gets
don't have to. Divisions just dictate schedule. They have nothing to do. If you are not one of the top 8 teams in your division, or in your conference, you do not make the playoffs. Period. That's the way I would do it.
Okay. So for divisional purpose or for scheduling purposes, it's division.
For sure. But this is the problem, right? And this is the other thing that people that advocate to get rid of the divisional system, the way it is now with the wild cards and everything, because the division system, like before they brought in the 1 versus 8, the divisional system was straight divisions. It was the top 4 teams. 1 played 4, and before they expanded the league to a bajillion teams, and it was 4 divisions like it was now, and it was just 1 through 4, 2 plays 3, and divisions played up. You played in your division until the conference finals.
Yeah, and
then they switched to the 1 versus 8 system, which never was a thing because again, I pointed out very articulately now 3 times how it actually worked. And then, yeah, like I said, it was as real as the original 6. Now, that's what I would do. I don't think they need to expand the playoff format because half the league already makes the playoffs. That's fine. I mean, yeah. I could understand if you want to maybe steal from baseball and have a small wild card series or something to just make it more interesting. Like I'm fine with that kind of spice, I guess. Like I wouldn't hate it. I think anything that gets the escrow paid off for the players so we can actually have a real salary cap movement again
Oh God.
is like I'm all for it at this point, right? But no, I think the problem is though is again this has to do with rights holders and everything else, and let's be honest. If you do a 1 versus 8 system by conference, you're going to end up with teams playing, out of their time zone a lot, especially in the West, where
Absolutely in the West.
like in the East, it'll be fine. The East won't be a problem anymore because the teams that people in Washington East will play at normal times. It's not like the old days where Detroit would have to play half their games at 10:30 at night in the first round of the playoffs because they pulled the Sharks, and then the Leafs had to play at 10:30 at night in the second round, right? So, I mean, for the West, the West teams, because there's more time changes in the Western Conference, so that would obviously, I think, be a little more problematic. I think if you're Chicago, you're probably a little pissed off if you have to play a team on the West Coast and you have that 2-hour difference in start times, which probably isn't great for you showing hockey. I mean, by the conference finals, let's be honest, everything goes to East time anyway.
Pretty much, yeah.
But you don't want that before. So I understand why the playoffs are set up the way that they are.
And I get how they want to show every game and every playoff game everywhere, but at the same time, I think the Midwest gets gypped when they're starting their games at 8:45 p.m.
Sure.
I mean, or I think even Colorado had 8:45 games just because it was just the lead into the 4 p.m. East Coast game.
Yeah. I mean, again, there's no good solution. I think you would, I've seen some people suggest just going doing it like the Q and having 1 versus 16 and 2 versus 15, and I think that would never happen because one, I think the NHL likes their TV not being all screwed up, because I think everything's fine until a team like the Leafs, heaven forbid, have to play at 10:30. Then it's the end of the fucking world, right?
Yeah, then they'll play a 4:00 game in Edmonton. Fuck off.
Yeah,
Jeez.
so I think that'll never happen. But
poor Toronto, boo-hoo.
Mitch but Marner, I don't know. I would do it. I'm all for a straight 1-8 system. Although I do like divisional rivalries. I remember, and this is a thing. It's a thing to a kind of a bygone era now. But I remember when I was growing up, those Boston Montreal series back when it was straight divisional playoffs, those were a bloodbath, and that was some to this day, I still remember some of those playoff series, and they were in the youngest years of my life, and I still remember them because you had Waugh versus Moog, and oh my god, people everyone's Andy Moog, who the fuck's that? And I understand I'm really dating myself here, but yeah, just some of those fucking series, man. I kind of hoped we would get back to that, but we never really. The one thing about this system that they've done now is we've never really gotten that. A lot of the big rivalries, all those teams decide to suck. We finally got a Battle of Alberta finally last year, and how long have we had this playoff series? You know what I mean?
Right.
We've had some other good ones, obviously we've had some kind of good series, but they never got the series that they thought they were going to get, the ones that would really just crank the ratings, right?
Well, I mean, we've only had one freeway face-off with Anaheim and LA. I think we've had since 2013 or since 2011, the Sharks and Kings have played 3 times and haven't played since 2016. I mean, the Sharks played the Ducks twice since 2009. It's tough.
Yeah, and and even the Battle of Alberta we got wasn't really that good. It was kind of a letdown as a series.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah, and I agree, because Marty just said in that chat, I thought that was gonna be the series of the playoffs, and it was
It was like
fine.
a boxing match or an MMA fight that gets like such the top billing. Everybody's gonna tune in, and then it
Ends in the
fil-
first round with a weird jab. Yeah.
Yeah. No, Marty, I'm with you on that. So
Yeah. So I don't know. So I think like I do like the idea of trying to promote rivalries, but we haven't really gotten those traditional rivalry series out of the system. So I think I think I would, like I said, I would change it. Especially when you have like, I don't think like a team that's as ass as the Pacific has been for a while. Like last year they were okay, but like there's been times where I think like sometimes you look at like some of these divisional teams that are guaranteed their playoff spot, and you're like, yeah, but wouldn't it be better if this team was there, even though they might be fourth or fifth in their division?
yeah,
I don't know.
It's tough,
Yeah, it is. So
because there's one good thing about one format. There's the other one or the different one. I get that they tried to kind of counteract that. Oh, the whole, and I use the 91 North Stars, where I think they had like 68 points, got into the playoffs, and came within 2 wins of winning the cup. It was kind of
AJ,
like
we can't go back through 1 through 8 because it was never 1 through 8. Haven't you listened to a damn thing I've said on this show? Fuck.
Oh,
we
boy.
can't go back. We just need to. But I do agree. I think go 1 through 8. Division doesn't matter except for scheduling, and let the chips fall where they may. That's what I would do. That said, I don't think the NHL is touching their playoff format. So
No. Just looking at what the format would be, or what it would be right now. Dallas, Minnesota, that would be a fun one. Winnipeg, Colorado.
That'd be fun.
Vegas, Edmonton, if I'm looking at that correctly. It would be Vegas, Minnesota, Dallas, Edmonton.
Oh man, Glenn, going back even farther. I can't go back to Dryden Cheevers, but I do remember Wah Moog. But yeah, I can't. I don't go back that far, unfortunately. But I am sure those were good.
And then that classic rivalry, the Seattle Kraken versus the LA Kings. Hell, I will.
But you know what?
If we get a 9-8 game every game in that series, oh man, that'd be great.
But here's the thing, right? Traditional rivalries are nice, but nothing creates a rivalry like a playoff series.
Absolutely.
Right? Like Colorado, Detroit, like there was no juice there until there was.
And one hit from Colorado.
You know what I mean? That's what I mean. Like there was no like. I understand wanting to go for like the traditional rivalries just because fans are, the fans hate each other and everything else. But like sometimes like just playoffs make their own rivalries.
Yeah.
And like Colorado, Detroit is a perfect example of how the playoffs just made a rivalry.
Hey, San Jose, Detroit over a number of years. St. Louis, Detroit. Some of the best.
St. Louis, Detroit are. Yeah, I mean they're.
Sorry, I meant San Jose, St. Louis.
Mm-hmm.
And there's that. I mean, yeah, and AJ saying it here, Sharks playoffs against Blues or Stars or Avs were way better than LA or Anaheim.
I don't know. I didn't like maybe if we won against in some of those LA series, maybe I'd feel differently about them. But like those were good series. Like those were gut wrenching. Like when the Sharks didn't beat the Kings, that was gut wrenching, man. It was gut wrenching. I wonder if we would look back on those series more if we win one of those series before the Kings kind of start to fall down. We win that one series, but then the Kings really kind of fall off after that. I wonder if we'd feel differently if we'd come out of those series and not gotten reverse swept and all that stuff. Because those losses hurt, and they don't hurt if you don't care, right?
Right. No, completely agree with you on that. So
and teach their own. Like I'm not here to tell you what is a good rivalry. I mean, that's for you to determine yourself. But like so if like AJ saying like he likes those rivalries better. I mean, yeah. I mean, I'm not here. I'm not going to tell him he's wrong. But I don't 100% agree. But again, maybe it's because I'm a fucking masochist, and there was so much pain in those series.
And for more on that series, go to bigwhinydefenseman.com. Kid you not. It's a great site. I'm telling you. One thing part of the meeting was Bettman saying the cap increase next season will depend on which teams make the playoffs this season.
Yeah, obviously, look at I'm not gonna I'm gonna give you a little secret on economics. Big markets bring big money, and if you have a lot of big markets miss the playoffs, that's not good for the league. And now again, I'm not here to tell you that the NHL should strip away their small markets and stuff. Like, I think small markets matter. San Jose is a small market, let's be honest. And that's the team that I cheer for. So obviously, I think small markets do have their place in the league, but I think if you're looking to make a lot of money, if you look at the standings right now, and you look at some of the teams that might miss, like, I don't know, the Rangers, like, that's not good for, if you want to make money, that's not good, right? If you look in the East, Detroit hanging on by a thread. I haven't looked at the, I'm just looking at like the top three teams, and then who's out of there, right? Like Detroit getting in would probably be a big boon for ratings, stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, obviously, I mean, the West, it doesn't care. But but both Edmonton and Calgary, let's say Edmonton and Calgary both missed the playoffs somehow. Like, that's bad.
What
that is bad.
If I'm looking overall, let's see, one in the West and one in the East for the Canadian teams. That's a nightmare for Sportsnet. Toronto,
absolutely, yeah.
Toronto and Winnipeg only being in. The other nightmare.
And Toronto's only going to be in for a round. Let's be honest.
Oh, damn. But I mean, yeah. You look at the wild card in the East. Islanders are holding down the number one spot for now. Rangers are at number 2. But then Ovi and the Capitals, he's on this record pace run. Granted, it's the playoffs, so it doesn't really count. But they're out. Florida, who
but don't underestimate, like, the Rangers. The Rangers print money.
Yeah,
like the Rangers are. If you go by the Forbes number, the Rangers, there's no team in the NHL worth more than the Rangers.
Yeah. But you also have Montreal out too.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, again, anytime you have a lot of Canadian teams in the playoffs, that's not good for TV numbers.
Does that make you wonder if they dictate the results somehow?
No.
Does that peek
like
into
it is what it is. Like, I don't think. Do I think? Look at. Here's the thing. If you are a league that has jumped in bed with gambling, you need to keep your shit on straight. You can't jump in bed with gambling and then have impropriety in your officiating standings, whatever. These things do not go together. Now you could say, well, boxing's a thing, and I'll say sure, but like, I just if a major league like the NHL, you can say what you want about the NHL as far as where they are in the pecking order of American sports, but I still feel like if a business that's like a $600 billion business, like a $100 billion business like the NHL has any rumors of impropriety, like that would be catastrophic for them.
I mean, it's not like it's biased like the college football playoff. How many times have we seen freaking Alabama get in over UCLA? Or I heard years ago, just the Texas head coach, oh, we deserve to be in a better situation than Cal, and of course that dictated to where they went.
I can't speak to that.
No, I know, but I'm just using that as an example of that. So
I don't know the reference, so I can't. I will smile and nod because I can't speak to that. I just think that, again, like, if you're going to jump into bed with sports gambling as heavy as the NHL is, they can't look like they're a fixed league. I mean, you're always going to have like your wackos that think, oh my god, the NHL hates my team because of X, Y, and Z. But like, they hate every team because of X, Y, and Z.
Yeah, very true. All right. Well, with that, I think I've gotten enough rants out of Ian for this episode. Tune in Saturday. No, I'm kidding. But yes, you should tune in Saturday. But do you agree with what Ian's saying? 1 versus 8 wasn't really 1 versus 8. Which playoff format would you?
Oh, I mean,
think
you
would
can try
prefer?
and tell me how it was 1 versus 8, but I have I have the notes. Like we can go back and we can look at those playoff seedings and we can look at the point totals, and I will be very right and you will be very wrong.
And I will tell you right now, the best way to do that is in the comment section down below.
Yes.
After this YouTube channel,
I will tell you how wrong you are in the comment section. I have no problem doing that.
And he will enjoy that. Look at that. He's smirking already.
The smug look on my face, I'm sure.
He's like, I am just.
I have the Ryan Merkley shit-eating grin right now, I'm sure.
Yes. All right. In case you missed anything or you want to watch this again, check us out on tealtownusa.com or your favorite podcatcher, whether it's Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, YouTube, SoundCloud, Spotify, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, Odyssey. That's how you say it. Odyssey. Of course, you can always smash those likes, subscribe, and the notification bell buttons on our YouTube channel. We thank nearly the 2,894 subscribers to our YouTube channel. Tell a friend, tell multiple friends. We appreciate and want this thing to grow. Come on, let's get to 3,000 before the season ends, folks. So check us out at tealtownusa.com and
feel the pain with us.
Please.
It's better to go through pain with other people. Join us.
Yes, please.
The really cult of Sharks pain.
There'll be pain and there will be real pain. So, with that, Ian, your final thoughts.
When the Sharks do good, it's good. And when you think it's 1 through 8, you're wrong.
Damn. All right. I'm at PuckGuy14 on the Twitter, the Instagram. We will say that Quinn did say that it's a lower body injury for Luke Cunnin. So we'll see how that goes down the week. But the Sharks are off tomorrow, so we may have to wait till Thursday to hear anything saying. We looked at it in between periods. When he hit the guy, there was a little bit of awkwardness to him. He didn't seem too overly concerned, but we'll figure it out. So.
So good news, Jeff Viel, you're probably getting called back up. Yes. Good for you.
Thomas Broderloh, your thoughts?
Thomas Broderloh is not getting called up.
Yeah.
Jeff Viel might, though. Maybe let's bring back CGC. So I don't know. We'll see.
So we'll be on the lookout for that. Thanks for watching. We'll be back with you Saturday following Sharks and LA Kings down in LA. That'll be a good one there. So be on the lookout for that. And, of course, best way to know when we go on, hit that notification bell after you hit that subscribe button. So for Erik, that's me, and Ian, it's 11:10. I don't know how we're both awake at this time. Thanks for watching. And for Randy, I'll do it for you. Keep it real. Keep it fresh. Keep it real fresh. Randy, we love you. Congrats. Have a great night, everyone. We'll see you on Saturday night. Good night, everyone.